Hello everyone. So we are here to discuss the answers for geography component asked in 2021 prelims. I hope you have done well. The nature of questions were quite as per the UPSC pattern only. And here let's see what are the different questions that have been asked in geography. And we'll look at some answer keys. So let's start one by one. And so far as the nature of the questions is concerned, there were few questions which probably were like not as per the trend. Like there were questions asked on tamarind, the questions were asked on palm oil. Few questions were predictable, such as questions on water resources, one question on physical geography. That has been the standard pattern of questions that have been asked by UPSC in last few years. So here, if you see the first question that was asked in geography was a climate as well as a vegetation aspect. The question was asked on savanna, or in terms of climate we call it as Sudan type of climate or savanna type of climate, where we have the semi-arid conditions. Rainfall is less, like rainfall is 60 centimeters approximately. So the question, let's see the question. Question was asked, the vegetation of savanna consists of grasslands with scattered small trees. Okay, yes, true. Savanna regions, grasslands, first of all, let's understand grasslands originate, I mean, they are generally found in regions where rainfall is lesser. It's semi-arid conditions, because at least 60 centimeter rainfall is required for trees to survive, like forest cover to survive. And here the rainfall is just around 60 centimeters, or some places it is even 40 to 60 centimeters. So it's quite understandable that trees with the continuous canopy, that is forest, cannot survive. So we have these tall nutritionless grasses here, which are also called as elephant grasses. So the reason why it is grassland, we should understand that the rainfall is around 40 to 60 centimeters. And trees cannot survive, so they are scattered. There's a typical condition of a typical characteristic of any savanna vegetation. Then the next part of the forest development in such areas generally kept in check by one or more or a combination of some conditions. Which of the following are such conditions? So forest growth is checked. That means it does not, the forest cover is not too long. It is not a continuous canopy for 1 hectare, 2 hectares, or maybe more than that. So there are scattered trees with tall dry grasses. So what are those combinations? The question is understandable, it's easy. First is borrowing of animals and termites. No, they don't affect forest cover, right? In fact, they do not play a role in forest cover or checking the forest growth. The second is fire. So first is not there. Yes, the second, forest fires are very common in savanna and any deciduous forest. Why are they common? Why forest fire is so common in deciduous and the semi-arid region? Is obviously because in one part of the year, they remain dry. In one part of the year, like say in winters, in autumn season, in the distinct dry season in savanna region. So that makes us clear for this one more option that says seasonal seasonal rainfall. So this seasonal rainfall, yes, true, very true, because if the one part of the year remains dry, obviously the rainfall is seasonal. It's almost like what we see in the monsoonal pattern. But the difference between monsoonal rainfall and that happens in savanna is the fact that savanna rainfall or Sudan region, interior location of the continent, is the reason why rainfall is very limited. It gets a rainfall of just around 2 to 3 months, mainly because of interior location. So I'll just write, yes, it is seasonal, and interior location. That's why rainfall is very less. Then comes there was one more option that was there, grazing of herbivores. Yes, we know that grazing does keep it in check. And then comes soil properties. See, the soil properties do not play much role, right? Soil properties do not play much role in trees. Now, had it been agriculture, then yes, soil properties would have been a major factor, determining factor. So this is second, third and fourth as a correct. So this is the correct answer for this question. That was vegetation of savanna. Going to question number 2, which is from the water resources. Well, before I discuss this question, if you look at the mains pattern of questions in past few years, we have had questions in General Studies paper 1 and paper 3 on water resources, water management, national water grid, water stress. So water resources, this is one question that we all should expect any time, any stage of the exam. It can be asked in the interview also. So we should prepare for the water resources. What is the statement? Statement is the amount of water in rivers and lakes is more than the amount of groundwater. Yes, because it's a source of fresh water. One of the largest source of fresh water is a groundwater, containing nearly about 30% of the fresh water. So definitely it is groundwater that has more water than the rivers. So this statement number 1 is incorrect. Then comes the second part, that amount of water in polar ice caps and glaciers is more than the amount of groundwater. And here, yes, polar ice caps and glaciers account for nearly around 69% of the total water or fresh water, which is locked in glaciers and ice. So it is a correct answer, correct statement. So the first statement, rivers and lakes are more water than groundwater, is incorrect, because groundwater is a huge source of water on the continental masses, and it accounts for approximately 30% of the total fresh water. And in this case, if we look at the polar ice caps and glaciers, yes, we resort on these for the fresh water, whether it's perennial water sources or any sources for that matter. It is B. The correct answer is B, because the first statement is incorrect. So the second statement is correct because it contains around 69% of the fresh water. That's why we are so concerned about the glacier water smelting. But I must tell you one more thing here. For mains examination, prepare water resources properly. For your prelims also, it's important, anyways the question has been asked, but because now water is going to be a bigger challenge for India. India is already into the water stress condition, right? And it is projected that the water stage, India will face this water scarcity region. The total amount of water available per capita per year is less than 1700 cubic meters. So prepare on water stress, prepare on water resources, prepare the reasons for the water stress in India. What is the water storage capacity of India? Water storage capacity per capita in India. So how to manage these? How is national water grid going to help us? So such questions will be asked. There are chances, and there have been like past 3 to 4 years in mains examinations, such questions have been asked on water. So you prepare water in holistic manner, these questions will automatically be handled. Then comes question number 2. Now I should be very honest here, saying that we did not expect a question on tamarind seed, or we did not expect the question on the drumstick tree or the moringa tree. And that too, if this year the question pattern has been the origin, that endemism has been asked in so far the vegetation is concerned, or these crops are concerned. So the first statement says that moringa is a leguminous evergreen tree. No, it is not an evergreen tree. So wrong statement. Tamarind tree is endemic to South Asia. There's an interesting story about tamarind, which may lead to a lot of confusions. You know, the tamarind, literal meaning of the tamarind is it comes from the Arabic word tamar Hind. That means the sour of India. From there, like the Arabic word tamar Hind, then it becomes the tamarind because of the English influence. So we may think that it is endemic to India. It originates in India because of, you know, the name suggests that. But exactly it is not South Asian, it is African. Right? So this statement is again incorrect. In India, most of the tamarind is collected as a minor forest produce. Yes, it is a minor forest produced in the deciduous varieties. You can see tamarind, or in the southern part of India also we find this. India exports tamarind and seeds of moringa. Yes, it does. India does, and also one of the largest exporters. Then the seeds of moringa and tamarinds are production. See whether the seeds of moringa and tamarinds can be used in the production of biofuel. This is again a question which is very tricky. Tamarind, we have not heard much about it, but if you see the drumstick seeds, moringa seeds are used as a biofuel. This is also included in the biofuel policy. And so far as a tamarind is concerned, we may not directly find it, but because it's written as seeds of moringa and tamarind, so it is also correct. So this third, fourth, fifth statement is correct. First two are incorrect. So the correct answer is B. Now a lot of you would be worried whether we should be knowing the origin of the crops also, or origin of the fruits or vegetables. I would suggest yes, at least those which are widely used in India, which are widely exported from India. So those crops are those vegetables or fruits of which India is one of the top producers, or they are exported from India on large scale. You should also look for the origin of those species, origin of those varieties, right? That is also advisable. That is quite important now. Okay, very similar to that. Okay, next question is, the black cotton soil of India has been formed due to weathering off. So the options were brown forest soil, which can create a question in the mind, a doubt in mind, because it's black cotton and brown forest soil. So maybe we think that, okay, maybe the color is because of black, because of the same. Then fissure volcanic rock, granitic and schist, shale and limestone. So what we can easily exclude is this shale and limestone. The black cotton soil, or it's also called as ragur soil, spread over the massive Deccan Plateau. It's spread over Deccan Plateau. The Kathiawar region of Gujarat, Maharashtra, northern Karnataka, parts of Telangana, all these regions we have this, that's a spread of Deccan Plateau. And the Deccan Plateau is volcanic in origin. Volcanic in origin. Okay, so now we can think of this, that there is no volcano in Maharashtra or Gujarat or nearby region. How can it be a volcanic in origin? So understand that when Indian plates started moving towards north, if you go back to the formation of Himalayas, Indian plate separated from the Gondwana land, and from here there was this massive fission volcanism. This fission volcanism occurs, fissure volcanism occurs in the regions where there's a divergent boundaries. So there are a lot of hotspots, geological hotspots, right? Hotspots. So what are these geological hotspots, or simply what are these hotspots? So hotspots are regions on the surface of Earth which are connected to the magma chamber, and from there the continuous volcanic eruption happens. It keeps taking place. The frequency may vary from few minutes to few hours or maybe a day, but then the continuous volcanic eruptions keep taking place. Those regions on the surface of Earth are called as hotspots. Here we are talking about geological hotspots. This can be the most active form of volcanism, as the frequency is few hours to few minutes. Now, when Indian plates separated, this fissure volcanism happened, the fissure lava erupted, and it got spread over this entire Deccan region, the western part of Indian plate. And being basic lava, because it's a basic lava, which erupts generally through the fissure eruptions, is a basic lava containing very little amount of silica, it appears darker. Basic lava is always darker, and therefore it appears to be black. Also, due to the presence of this titaniferous minerals. Titaniferous minerals contains less of silica, iron concentration is there, magnesium concentration is there, but because the silica concentration less, it appears darker, right? These are minerals. And the Deccan region is also called as the trap, Deccan trap. Now, there is another confusion that what is trap? But when we talk about trap, English trap means something like something is holding. What is trap here? So, trap word comes from the word trappen, which means step-like formation. It's a Swedish term for step-like accumulations. Now, why step-like formations? Why do we have these step-like formations in basic lava? Because basic lava has a very high fluidity. The density is less, so fluidity is higher. Density, or we can also say viscosity, is less. So it keeps on flowing in sheets, one sheet of lava, then second sheet of lava, then third sheet of lava. So accumulation of these sheet one over the other takes that plateau shape, stairs-like shape, one layer, third layer, fourth layer. So because of that step-like formation, this is called as a trap, which is a Swedish term for the same, for the step-like formations. So here, because they have basic lava, fluidity is very high, it is darker in appearance due to the same reason that the concentration is less. So this gives rise to this black soil in India. So what is the correct answer? Fissure volcanic rock. So the same rock which is there on Deccan Plateau has undergone process of weathering. So we know weathering. I'm sure you all know what is this weathering. Weathering means the disintegrations of rocks. Disintegration of rock in situ without getting displaced. If it gets displaced, then it's called as erosion. If it remains there at the surface only, it is the process of weathering. So weathering of this fissure volcanic formations in Deccan Plateau has led to the formation of this black soil. And now, why is it important for cotton? You know, this has very fine texture, and because of fine texture, it can absorb water and becomes waterlogged. This is the reason why it's best suited for cotton, because cotton at the time of sowing requires waterlogged condition. It should be waterlogged condition, a kind of marshy conditions for the sowing of cotton. And then it becomes dry. So this is again feature that because it is fine texture, when there's rainfall, it becomes quite sticky, it becomes waterlogged, it's full of water, and at the same time it becomes dry. When it is dry, it can develop cracks. So there are cracks when it is dry, it becomes waterlogged when it is wet. So these are some features associated with a black cotton soil. So why is it important for cotton? Why is it black? And we can easily understand that it is fissure volcanic rocks. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Okay, so the next question is about what is permaculture farming different, how is permaculture farming different from conventional chemical farming? Permaculture. This word actually comes from permanent agriculture. Permanent agriculture. How we can practice agriculture permanently? Permanent agriculture, if we use all the natural resources around us to cultivate, it's permanent agriculture. We don't have to buy seeds every time. We don't have to buy chemical fertilizers every time. Manures are used, seeds, indigenous seeds are used. So that kind of agriculture is called as permaculture, and we'll develop the cropping based on the natural habitat or natural climatic conditions. So all the varieties which are cultivated in the regions will be used here or cultivated here. That is called as permanent culture or permaculture. Very much used in, very much supported in many countries. In fact, a lot of agencies are supporting this part. It's quite similar to the zero-based natural farming. Zero-based natural farming, where we use all the basic ingredients like cow dungs, water, irrigate it properly, do the soil manuring properly. So that is zero-based natural farming, for which a lot of people are raising their voices in the support of zero budget natural farming. And this natural farming is very good for ecology because it's very eco-friendly. We don't use chemical fertilizers, we don't use pesticides. So the soil can sustain for long, right? Let's see the characteristics now. Permaculture farming discourages monocultural practices, but in conventional farming, chemical farming, monoculture practices are predominant. Yes, it does discourage monocultural farming for one simple reason, that there are many crops which can complement each other. If you cultivate multiple crops, they have different effect on the soil and therefore can be very useful for enriching the soil fertility, and productivity will increase. So what is monoculture? Monoculture means the single cropping. The single crop is cultivated on a vast area, on a larger area. It can be rice, it can be wheat. Most probably it is these food grains only. Like what we did for Green Revolution, that we used chemical fertilizers, and the emphasis was there only on the rice and wheat. It's monoculture. Monoculture being practiced in many districts along the eastern coast of India, in the Godavari region, in the Kaveri Delta, in Mahanadi Delta, and also in the Ganga Brahmaputra region or the West Bengal region. So this discourages, and you would see that because of the Green Revolution, the crop diversity has reduced to a great extent. This was one of the negative aspects of Green Revolution. So exactly it is reverse of it. So first statement is correct. Permaculture farming discourages monoculture practices. Yes, it does. Then conventional chemical farming can cause increase in the soil salinity, but occurrence of such phenomena is not observed in permaculture. The conventional chemical farming can increase soil salinity. Like there are so many case studies, if you read as one of the outcomes, one of the drawbacks of Green Revolution or this conventional farming, with the overuse of irrigation, especially the tube well irrigation, the salt which is present in the deeper layers of the soil or rocks, they come to the surface. And that is called as saline efflorescence. That's called as saline efflorescence. Coming out of salt to the surface by tube well irrigation, using tube well irrigation. So this has increased the soil salinity. Plus the fertilizers that we use and many other chemicals that we use has increased soil salinity. In fact, this is one of the major problems that we are facing in soil in the northern plains. But since we do not use many chemicals in this case, the soil salinity can be preserved. So this is again a correct, soil salinity can be reduced. This is also the correct statement. Comes the next third statement. Conventional chemical farming is easily possible in semi-arid regions, but permanent farming is not so easily possible in such regions. Question is, conventional chemical farming is easily possible in semi-arid areas. Just now we discussed that the salinity is because of over-irrigation. Over-irrigation, that is mainly tube well irrigation. So that means that for conventional farming, when we use chemical fertilizers, right, when we use other chemicals, we have to give more water to the plants so that they can absorb that, so that they can absorb this. It's like when we take the medicine, we are taking medicine with the strong chemicals that we take. We drink a lot of water with it to neutralize or to dilute it. Exactly in the same way, when we add so many fertilizers or so many chemicals to the soil, for plants to absorb them, they need a lot of water so that the dilution happens and then the absorption can take place. So chemicals, fertilizers, or it cannot be used without the intake of water, without the irrigation. So the third statement is incorrect. Conventional chemical farming is easily possible in semi-arid areas. No, they need irrigation. Conventional. So in Green Revolution, for example, the irrigation increased so much, right? So that is the case. But in permaculture farming, not so possible in such cases. In permanent agriculture, or we talk about the permaculture, we use all the manures which do not require huge amount of water. But also there is a technique called as Vapsha. There are some of the important aspects of such farming. Technically, we also call as Vedic farming, where we treat with a Bij-Amrita, right? And then we talk about Jeev-Amrita, where we treat the seed, we treat the soil with cow dungs. And also there is one more aspect associated with it, preserving the soil moisture. And that's called as Vapsha, that is soil moisture is preserved. How do we preserve the soil moisture? Third statement makes it clear. We preserve the soil moisture by covering it with some litter, dead leaves. So that technique is called as mulching. So in permanent agriculture, the practice of mulching is very important and not necessarily so in the conventional agriculture, because we are not preserving soil moisture in case of conventional farming. We use irrigation and so on. But so far as the permanent agriculture is concerned, the soil moisture is preserved by covering it with litter, etc., or the dead leaves. So that technique is called as mulching. So obviously the fourth statement is also correct. That is, the practice of mulching is very essential, very important for the permanent culture. So first statement correct, the second statement is correct, and the fourth statement is correct. So the answer is again B. Again, very potential question for the mains examination also. Then another such question where it is expected to know the origin of the crop. Question was asked on palm oil. Now there is huge amount of discussion going on with the use of palm oil. It's used in food, it's used in cosmetics, it's used in so many other packaging materials and so on. So the use of palm oil is being discussed across the country, and there was a ban on the import of the palm oils, but now it has been lifted. So the question is quite obvious. With the reference to palm oil, consider the following statements. First is, palm oil tree is native to Southeast Asia. No, it is a native to Africa. It is believed to have reached the shores of India or Southeast Asia through currents or maybe some land route. It could have reached to this part. So it is not native to India, or for that matter Southeast Asia. It is native to Africa. Palm oil is a raw material for some industries producing lipsticks and perfumes. Yes, it is, because it has that lubricant properties, so it is used. Then palm oil can be used for to produce biodiesel. Yes, it is. So second and third statement are correct. So answer is B. Now another example where we need to know the origin of the crop or the trees, but we are commercially using. So that is another question, another example of such. Okay. Now one question which is, I guess, can be answered only if you have observed maps. That's why we stress on maps. Keep looking at maps. We always stress that please look at maps. Some people find it very tedious work to look at maps. And then we also say that when you look at maps, don't see it as like, don't read map as a subject. Try to enjoy it in the way that you spend some 10-15 minutes per day. You cannot sit with an atlas and memorize all the places. It's not possible. But you can keep looking at atlas very frequently. In fact, every day, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, good enough. Whenever you feel a bit tired or you don't feel like reading, you can just take out the atlas and just observe. Because map-based questions are always based on your visual memory. So looking at map is quite important. Like suppose the question was asked, and it becomes a little confusing when you read the statement in first line. With a reference to the Indus river system, of the following 4 rivers. So Indus system, just go through Indus system, 4 major rivers of Indus: Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Beas, Satluj, right? Tributaries. Plus we have Zanskar, we have Shyok, Gilgit, Hunza, Baltit. These are tributaries of Indus river system. Now the question says, 4 rivers, 3 of them pour in one of them. Okay. So that means 3 rivers join one river, which joins the Indus direct. Among the following, which one is such river that joins the Indus direct? So that means there are rivers which join a particular river, right? Which join a particular river, and then one river joins the Indus as a main tributary. So rest are almost like indirect tributaries. We consider options if you look at Chenab, Ravi, Beas, Ravi, Satluj and Jhelum. So Chenab is a tributary of Indus, Jhelum is a tributary of Indus, Ravi and Satluj, all of them are the tributaries of Indus. But which 3 rivers join in the 4th one? Just look at the map. Take out your atlas, look at the map. So we have Jhelum, we have Chenab, Ravi, Beas, Satluj. Anyways, Beas is not the option. Beas joins in at Satluj at 𝐼𝐀𝐒 itself. So this is not the option. We have Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi and Satluj. Look at Jhelum. It joins in Chenab. Ravi, it joins Chenab. Satluj, it further joins in Chenab. So which one is the correct answer? Chenab. To be very honest, it's difficult to predict this type of statement, or how there are so many rivers in India. How many will you study? But those rivers, we keep saying that those rivers which are in news, which have been in news for past 1 year, or those which are having some geopolitical significance. We all know about Indus and Indus Water Treaty with Pakistan and so. So you need to observe all the rivers of Indus very carefully. And recently in 2021 itself, 8 projects have been sanctioned by Government of India in this region, in the territory of Ladakh, Union Territory of Ladakh, and few of them in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir as well. So you should know about these rivers. One such river which was in news again because of the dispute between Odisha and Andhra Pradesh, just a minute, was this river. Consider the following rivers: Brahmani, Nagavali, Subarnarekha, Vamsadhara. Again, a map-based question, but there is a news to it. There were some things in background. Brahmani, Subarnarekha, Chota Nagpur region. Right? Chota Nagpur. Chota Nagpur is a part of peninsular plateau, geologically part of peninsular plateau, a different physiographic division altogether. Besides that, it is also an example of a radial drainage from where so many rivers originate and move in different directions. The few rivers of Ganga, tributaries of Ganga, tributaries of Mahanadi, and some rivers move towards east, like these rivers. Subarnarekha is an example to this. So they originate in Chota Nagpur. Then we have Vamsadhara and Nagavali, right? If you look at the map, this map we had discussed already in the current affairs and discussed in other sections too, that Vamsadhara basin, which originates in Odisha in near Kalahandi district, there is a conflict. Rather, government of Odisha had written to government of India regarding the water problem or the canal that has been constructed by Andhra Pradesh, and there's a dispute related to the water sharing between Andhra Pradesh and Odisha. Meanwhile, another link has been drawn connecting Nagavali to Vamsadhara, right? So these were in news because of disputes. Again, it rose, although dispute is very old, 2006, but then again, because of the linkage, it's a part of the international part of our national water grid, or this linkage has been questioned by government of Odisha. So they were in news. So Nagavali is also tributary of Vamsadhara. It joins it. So it also originates near Kalahandi itself, which is a part of northern Sirkars, or these are the part of Eastern Ghats. So which one of the following rivers, consider the following rivers: Brahmani, Nagavali, Subarnarekha, Vamsadhara, which of the following originates from Eastern Ghats? So Brahmani, it is not there, Subarnarekha, it is not there, Nagavali and Vamsadhara, they originate almost next to each other only. So second and fourth is the correct answer for this question B. So please keep track of rivers which have been used because of floods, because of some new barrages, because of some dams, because of some disputes. So that is quite important, because otherwise lot of rivers are there in India, a lot of tributaries are there, and it's quite difficult to remember all of them. But those which have been in use because of one or the other reason, you should keep track of this. Okay, one more question, which was map based question. With reference to India, Didwana, Kuchaman, Sargol, Khatu are the names of. Now, if it was not Didwana, then it would have been a tough question. Right? If it was like Sargol or Khatu itself, then it would have been a very difficult question to judge what is it. Didwana is a very famous lake, salt lake in Rajasthan. It's under conservation. It's an extension of the lake, a series of lakes that we have in Rajasthan, which is a Sambar lake, and adjoining to these are this Didwana, Kuchaman, or small lakes like Shargol. So the moment you read about Didwana, then it's a saline lakes. There was also a question which could have given rise to some conflict or confusion, Ramsar sites. Because if you understood that Didwana is a lake and then there's Ramsar, so we see that, okay, no, it is not in the Ramsar convention. All these lakes are not in the Ramsar convention. So it is not a Ramsar site. Rather, these are salt lakes that we see in the Rajasthan region, adjoining to the Sambar lake. Right? And Didwana is a very famous lake used for the production of salt as well. Then, yes, another statement from ocean resources. The topic is ocean resources. And we again say resources are very important, and ocean is a storehouse of minerals. Important for now, when we talk about resources now, it is, if we are looking towards oceans for the resources, we are looking towards the, resources that we find in the seabed. So this question becomes important for mains. Extraction And also because the geopolitical tension is there for these resource extractions is quite important. So ocean as a resource is an important part for its, like ocean as a resource for energy, ocean as a resource for metallic minerals, resource for food, resource for salt, resource for biodiversity, and further fresh water also because of desalinization. So this becomes another very important question or important topic altogether for your exam. However, the question was asked, the Global Ocean Commission grants licenses for seabed exploration and mining in the international waters. No, it is actually International Seabed Authority. International Seabed Authority that guarantees or that grants the licenses for countries to explore resources. And a UN body, in International Seabed Authority, Kingston, Jamaica, it is quartered. India has received, second statement is, so this is incorrect. In fact, Global Ocean Commission comes with a ocean assessment report where it is not the seabed authority, it talks about the exploration of resources in the seabed. Then India has received licenses for seabed mineral exploration in international waters. Yes, it is true, for extraction of polymetallic nodules. Polymetallic nodules, which are, these are nodes of multiple metals including molybdenum, the manganese, then there's iron, there's gold, there's silver, molybdenum. All these minerals are present at one region itself in one source only, that's called as polymetallic nodules. So again important, yes, India has received, and India has received licenses to explore minerals in the Indian Ocean region up to 330 nautical miles, whereas the UNCLOS says the exclusive economic zone is only up to 200 nautical miles. Right? That is according to United Nations Convention on Law of Sea. So UNCLOS says only 200 nautical miles. But it also says that if the continental shelf is wider, then the countries can explore resources in these areas. So India has got recently licenses to explore resources there. Then rare earth minerals are present on the seafloor in the international waters. See, the word itself is rare earth minerals. Minerals which are rare on the earth. It does not mean that they're rare in the oceans also. Yes, oceans are part of earth, we understand that. But it is believed in the past when rainfall was very heavy, like pluvial period was there in the geological history of earth, all these minerals got washed away from the continents and got deposited in oceans. So they're rarely found on the continents, but they are found, they are found in oceans, because believe that all of that got washed away and got deposited in the ocean beds. Right? So yes, that is the reason. So second and third statement is correct. So we have this B as a correct answer. So this is ocean is a resource, but I would suggest that please prepare for mains also, ocean as a resource for as a energy resource, as mineral, as a food, etc. Important questions. Then which among the following, which is the least water efficient crop? Now what is least efficient water crop? First of all, we should, the answer would have been water demanding crop. Or rather, the question would have been simpler if the question was asked on water demanding crop. Least efficient crop, that means it needs more water, right? It needs more water. Out of following, sunflower, pearl millet, red gram, all of these can be grown in semi-arid regions also. They can be cultivated in less rainfall regions also. semi-arid regions, the rain shadow areas, eastern Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, all of these can be grown. But sugarcane, no. So it's because sugarcane also requires waterlogged condition at the time of sowing, although it requires drier conditions at the time of harvest, but at the time of sowing it requires waterlogged condition. That's why we cultivate in the Middle Ganga plains, in Deccan plateaus, in Punjab. After irrigation it is done. So correct answer. I guess this was easier question. Then one question from physical geography. It says, consider the following statement. In tropical zones, the western section of oceans are warmer than eastern sections owing to the influence of trade winds. Okay, western section of ocean is warmer owing to the reason of trade wind. Okay. Second statement says, in temperate zone, westerlies make eastern sections of the ocean warmer than western section. Exactly reverse thing happens. So westerlies make eastern sections warmer than western sections. Okay. For that, if you see the movement of trade winds and westerlies, this is suppose equator. So we have this ELP here, equatorial low pressure here, and we have subtropical high pressure here, and then we have the subpolar regions at 60 degrees, subpolar low pressure at 60 degrees. This is polar high. So I'm just drawing it for the northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere you can understand. Now suppose if I have to mention the western section of ocean, suppose this is continent, this is another continent, in between it is ocean. So western section of the ocean also means eastern section of the continent. This is the eastern section, and eastern section of the ocean means western section of the continent. Trade winds are either northeast or southeast. So just see this. This is the direction of trade winds. I am just drawing northeast trade winds. Same thing can be drawn for the southeast trade winds also. And these are southeast trade winds. In higher sections, I mean, winds move from high pressure to low pressure. So subtropical high to subpolar low, wind movement can happen. Same thing in southern hemisphere also. Now suppose if you keep a tub in front of a fan and the air is blown in the direction, obviously the water will also flow in the same direction because air produces friction with the water and drags it along. So to whichever direction the wind blows, water is also carried in the same direction, right? So it is the surface water that gets carried by the winds. So here the wind is moving from west to east, so water should also move, beg your pardon, winds are moving northeast, so water should also move from east in the same direction. So all the warm water gets piled up on the western section due to trade winds. This is warm water. And look at the direction of winds in the higher latitudes, temperate region, it is west to east. So all the warm water gets piled in the eastern section. But eastern section of oceans, that means the western section of continent, right? So now understand this diagram and observe this carefully. Both statements seem to be correct, right? Because of winds, they drag water towards west because trade winds are either northeast, southeast, whereas westerlies are from west to east, they move from west to east direction. So warm water gets carried towards eastern part because the surface water is warm, sun rays can penetrate only up to 100-200 meters. So that warm water gets carried. So whichever direction the wind is blowing, warm water will also get carried in the same direction. Then is the last question in geography, ecology here. Same question is asked. In fact, it's a statement. Let's observe the statement carefully. Says leaf litter decomposes faster than faster than in any other biome. As a result, the soil surface is often almost bare. Apart from trees, the vegetation is largely composed of plants, a plant form that reaches up to the canopy. By climbing the trees or growing as epiphytes rooted on the upper branches of the tree. Now, it's a long statement. Only key word here is epiphyte. If the first statement, leaf litter decomposes faster than any other biome, okay, this can be a question which can happen in other cases also in some other biomes. Also, leaf litter can decompose faster. So we can zero down to equatorial rainforest or tropical rainforest. We can also zero down it to some other types of forests, like maybe in polar areas like temperate coniferous evergreen forests can also have almost a similar pattern. But the second part says, apart from the trees, the vegetation is largely composed of the plant form that reaches into the canopy, right? By climbing trees or growing as epiphytes. Now, what are epiphytes? Like suppose if this is a tree, plants actually roll them around the stems and they grow up. They are like almost like parasitic. These are called as epiphytes. Why do they maintain the vertical growth? Because the sunlight doesn't reach to the surface. And sunlight does not reach to the surface because the trees have a very dense canopy. The aerial coverage of branches of trees, they form such a dense canopy that sun rays do not reach at the base of the forest. So it's a dark forest region. So plants, to find sunlight, they have to maintain an upward growth. They have to roll around the branches and leaves and they rise up, they get the sunlight. So these are called as epiphytes. Apart from that, so we can understand epiphytes. Apart from that, this huge, for decomposition of leaf or decomposition of leaves, what is required? Microbial growth. Huge amount of microbial growth is required. And for microbial growth, the soil moisture should be preserved. It should be intact, plus the temperature should be higher. So higher temperature and moisture condition should be there so that decomposition can happen. And this is possible only in rainforest. The microbial growth is not there so much in any other forest as much as it is there here, because there's a lot of humidity, a lot of temperature. So what is the correct answer? Tropical rainforest. Canopy is dense, epiphytes cannot grow, epiphytes can grow vertically, but we don't have much grass cover at the base as the sunlight cannot reach there. Plus the moisture condition is so intense, or the temperature is higher for the microbial growth that helps in the decomposition of leaf litter. So decomposes faster than in any other biome. It has to be equatorial or tropical rainforest conditions. Right? So the correct answer is D. These were questions asked in UPSC 2021 Prelims in geography, and we wish you good luck for the results. I hope you have done very well, and looking forward for the mains. And all of you should not waste time in thinking so much, because what happens in after prelims, especially freshers, those who are taking exam for the first time, they keep matching keys and they keep on calculating every day, and they waste a lot of time whether they are going to clear or not. It does not matter what is the result, you still have to prepare, and the time is running out. You need to get ready for the mains examination. So don't waste time. I wish you good luck for your mains, and see you for further discussions. Thanks a lot.